goes
To like
everywhere.
rub your hands on it.
Yes, we did that today as we were picking out time for this.
Yeah. Well, welcome everybody. We're gonna go ahead and get started. So excited. I'm really excited to be here today. My name is Daniel Bray Ortega, and I'm the program specialist here at the SGSO Network. And I'm joined today by the amazing presenter, Leona Verbanek. I will introduce you in a little bit a little bit further down. But if this is the first time that you're joining or interacting with the SGSO Network, we are the School Garden Support Organization Network. We're a peer-to-peer learning community that aims to support specifically for school gardeners. And we aim to support anyone who might be even just anyone that is doing direct programming in schools with students to program managers and directors that are doing programming at the regional, at the state, or even at the national level. We have many different platforms for our community members to share their expertise, and one of them is our webinars like this one today. Today, we are joined, as I said, by Leona Verbanek from Newark High School in Newark, Ohio. And she is the culinary teacher and garden manager at her high school. And we're going to be talking all about herbs today as an easy access tool where full-scale gardening might be challenging. So we can go on to the next slide, please. Awesome. Some housekeeping. I think there we go. Some general housekeeping. Our recording will be shared via email, and it's also going to be posted in our webinar library into our website. Everyone that registered, whether they're here or not, will receive also the recording link to their email. In the chat, I will also be sharing a resource handout that our lovely presenter created. And this is full of resources that our presenter identified as helpful for you to have. And it also has this slide deck if you would like to follow along. This is a bit of a special presentation because we're actually going to get a demonstration. So oh, hello world. Yeah, hello. Hey, Tristana. How's it going?
Hi.
We're also joined
How are
by
you?
our amazing executive director here at the SGSO Network, Tristana Perkle. She will be dropping helpful links in the chat as well through this presentation in support of me and our amazing presenter. So as I said, our presentation today is going to be divided into a 20-minute slide presentation and a 5-minute mini Q&A, and then a 40-minute demonstration. I hear there's students that will help us, and a 10-minute final Q&A. So please feel free to start dropping those questions in the Q&A chat portion with your buttons below. And as always, this is you will receive this in your email as well. We love hearing your feedback about this presentation, as well as any other topics that you might want to hear or even pitch to us for our next webinar series as well. And next slide, please. And this is our super exciting launch, our first webinar from our Growing School Garden Summit webinar series. So back in March, we had the Growing School Garden Summit done in partnership with the SGSO Network, Live Lab, and the Sprouts Healthy Communities Foundation. And this webinar series is all about bringing you amazing presenters that maybe you weren't able to see because you weren't able to join us at the conference. Or maybe you did go to the conference, and you just had to go to a different session and missed it for one reason or the other. So don't worry, we have you covered. And that is the link for the webinar series will be dropped in the chat below as well. I think that's enough for me. What we're really here for is for our super amazing presenter, Leona. Take it away.
Hi. So I am thrilled to be here with Sprouts. I'm sure as many of you going to the Sprouts conference is so inspiring and just gives me so much hope and so much joy that I am thrilled to share the pieces that we brought back here to Newark High School and what we're doing in our herbal garden. So our demonstration today is all about using herbs, getting herbs from outside into our bodies. And it is based on the work of Dr. Drew Ramsey, who wrote Eat to Beat Depression and Anxiety, because we might not have control to change all of our diet or everything about our lives, but we can all do little pieces to add nutrient density to our lives, and that helps our bodies, and that helps our spirits, and now Dr. Ramsey tells us that that helps our brains. So we just have really embraced that research, and it's the foundation for what we do here at Newark High School. So let me just go ahead and start my slide presentation here. I'm going to click to the next slide. There we go. So this slide is a little bit about a picture of our students using some of our herbs to make balms in the garden. But the presentation is something. If we can just do a little bit every single day, those little changes can add up to good things. So in 2016, I had a group of students who just really needed to be outside. We were struggling in the classroom, and they needed some sun, and they needed some wind, and they needed to be digging deep holes. And so we started the sanctuary garden at Newark High School. And at first it was just kind of a tilled mud pit garden. It was just an open plot, like a traditional old-fashioned garden. And even outside, we struggled. We had kind of name calling and pushing and shoving, and I had to really be on them to keep working. So at the end of the semester, I said, guys, is this it? Is this worth it? Is this garden something that we are going to continue to do? And I was so surprised that they said, yes, Miss V, this garden, this is our safe space. And we want to keep it going, and we want to keep working, but it's going to need a name. I said, okay, so what are we going to name it? And they said, the sanctuary. We want to name it the Sanctuary Garden. And then I said, okay, so what do we need to make this work? And they said, well, we need paths. We need a sidewalk because we want some of our friends to come and they can't walk down a hill. They might be in a wheelchair. So we're going to need a sidewalk, and we need somewhere to sit. So can we have tables and chairs? And we really need a patio, and we need somewhere to store our tools. So that group started writing grants, and they wrote many grants, and they were able to get a grant to build a shed, and they were able to get a grant for tables. And then the school said, yes, we want this to be available for all students. So they went ahead and poured a sidewalk. And so that really kind of is our humble beginnings. And as you can see in this picture, on the left is what we have now, where we're kind of learning together in the garden with one of our chef friends. And on the right is a favorite picture, because that's pretty much what happens now. As you can see, my boys are working and my girls are chasing each other with worms, because that's what girls do in the garden. Okay, so I'm just gonna let you switch. Can I just say switch? Okay, so we grow a lot of herbs because herbs grow abundantly, and they grow beautifully, and they grow everywhere from the Mediterranean, which is very dry, to somewhere that's very lush. So they just flourish. And some people say, like, well, I don't know, what if peppermint takes over the garden? And I just think, what if peppermint takes over the garden? That could be so beautiful to just have a field of peppermint. But from the beginning of the history of man, from Ayurvedic to the monasteries, mankind has used herbs to heal their bodies and to flavor their dishes for total nourishment. So I have a beautiful picture on the left of a picture of a monastic garden. And in the beginning, if the Latin name for an herb said officinalis, that means that it was part of the official medicinal area. So we're going to talk about some herbs today that have that officinalis in their Latin name. So it's not just a culinary word, culinary herb. It's not just a beautiful, flavorful herb. It's actually part of what man has used for medicine since the beginning, since our oldest documents include them as medicine. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so our first herb we've already talked about, it's my favorite, and it is thyme, and I have thyme right here. We might not know that thyme is so powerful as a preservative that it is the #1 food preservative used in America, especially with meat. It's antiviral and antifungal. It's got a sharp, peppery flavor, and it makes a beautiful tea. So when from the beginning of America, when we had the Boston Tea Party and we threw all of our tea overboard, then the colonists said, "What will we drink?" And they learned from the First Nations people that they could use thyme as their drink. And so they did. They put thyme in hot water and they steeped it and they drank it. So it has the ability to like soothe the sore throat. It has the ability to just bring warmth to the body. So thyme is an herb that we use so much in cooking. We frankly add it to all of our dishes. Even our breads, we add thyme to our bread and butter, and that's what we're going to show today. And another way that we preserve thyme is in oil. We will dry the leaves and put them in oil and then kind of have a spicy vinaigrette. And thyme is an herb that we use every day. So I encourage you to grow a little thyme in your diet, in your garden. Okay, yeah. There we go. So rosemary is another favorite of ours, and it grows almost like a little miniature pine tree. It has this kind of lemony, woodsy flavor. It can help us feel better if we feel agitated or if we have stomach upsets. What I love about thyme and rosemary and raspberry leaf, specifically if we're working with high schoolers, if they have a headache or if they have menstrual cramps, as a high school teacher, I can't give my students a Tylenol or an Advil, but these herbs help with pain and cramping. So oftentimes they'll make a cup of tea and they'll drink several cups in a row and they'll start to feel better. So I love knowing that these are culinary herbs that we grow abundantly in our garden. And if someone's not feeling well, we have something that we can do to help ourselves. Rosemary, also for those of you who are working in school gardens, rosemary helps with memory. At the bottom of each slide that we're sharing with you today are the studies from .gov or .med that back up this information. But rosemary right now in the UK is being used for memory enhancement, specifically with patients with dementia. And there's a recent study that's showing that if a student smells rosemary when they're studying or drinks rosemary tea and then has the rosemary with them when they're taking a test, that they score higher because the scent of rosemary helps them. So one of the things that we kind of celebrate in this classroom is we have this folklore. Rosemary has been used since the beginning of time. An herb of remembrance. So it's given away at weddings and it's given away at funerals. And now science and psychology is showing us that this folklore is true. And so we love using, like, celebrating the stories, but then using what we know today from science to kind of, enhance our cooking and enhance what we're eating and drinking. Yes. So then, and I did want to say that Charlemagne loved rosemary and Napoleon loved rosemary. So there are some famous people who loved rosemary. And then peppermint. My best friend, Lori Jo Jones, says that her favorite herb is peppermint because it's everything. It's cooling in the summer. It's warming in the winter. We can put it in our cocoa at Christmas, or we can put it in our iced tea in the middle of summer, and it just grows so abundantly and grows everywhere. It's also a strong antioxidant, and it helps with itching. So if students are bit by any bugs, so we actually we'll take, because we grow so much peppermint, because it does grow so profusely, then the students build a little still and they distill their peppermint into peppermint oil. And then they can use that oil if they have a bug bite or an itch, and it's very soothing to the skin. When students say that they have a headache or they didn't sleep well last night, or they're feeling down, then that's a time that they will make a cup of peppermint tea. And we just put peppermint in water and we actually boil it for a few minutes. One of our moms taught us just to go ahead and boil the herbs. And so we boil it for a few minutes. And then we have a beautiful tea. We can also use it if a student has nausea or is having any stomach upset. And the taste is just so bright and cheerful and so happy that I would say of the students, peppermint is their favorite herb that we grow. And again, we grow a lot, but we use a lot. We dry it. We make tea out of it. We keep it dried for tea in the classroom. So we love peppermint. Okay, and the next herb is lemon balm. Yeah, so lemon balm is an herb that traditionally through folklore, and again, this is a officinalis, it's been used since the beginning of time to help promote sleep and to ease pain and to ease those who are grieving. So that's very interesting. It's really tart and super lemony. The students like to say, oh, this tastes like a lemon drop. This smells like a lemon drop. And this is another one that grows really abundantly. It's also in the mint family. It's not quite as aggressive as a grower as peppermint, but we grow copious amounts of it. And then if we don't need it, we just pull it out and bring it in and use it. But we love to make tea from it. And because of the lemon flavor, it goes really well when we're making our butters. It goes really nice with chamomile. And we even grow hops here as a little bitter, and it goes really nice with hops when we're making a tea. So I would say that Melissa officinalis is one of our favorite herbs. Okay. Is there one more? Yes, basil. So basil its name alludes to the fact that it is just so beautiful that it is called the king of the herbs. And it has a little bit of I think, just the Italian flavors, the clove, the pepper. It's got all of those flavors. The students love to roll it up and then chiffonate it with their knives, so they make little basil ribbons. And we find that sweet basil is our favorite when it's in season. And right now, Ohio truly is having a drought like we have never had. But basil, even though it's so green and looks so fresh, it is just thriving in this drought. We can really tell right now that it's a Mediterranean herb because it's still growing so beautifully. So I would say, but sometimes when we have a spring and we have a lot of rain, our basil still survives. So it's really rugged until it frosts and then it's gone. But it doesn't store well as a dried herb unless we mix it with salt. So the students will take salt and basil and a mortar and pestle and mash them together. And then we have this beautiful green salt, and that keeps that fresh, peppery, bright, sharp flavor of the basil. And then we put that right back in the salt container that the salt came out of. And then we store that and we use that all winter long. And we like to bake things like focaccia or flatbreads, and we put that basil salt on there, and it is so delicious. Let's see, next slide. So in a minute, we are going to do a demo of compound herbal butter, which once we make the butter, it lasts in the fridge for several weeks. So already this year, the students went out, they tasted the herbs, they chose what herbs they wanted in their butter, and they brought it in, and we learned the cross chop, which one of my students, Clover, is going to demonstrate, but it's a very safe way for students to chop herbs. And they mix that into their butter with a little bit of lemon zest and a little bit of lemon juice. and some salt and pepper, and then they just stir it together, and it's so delicious. And then after we show you the lemon butter recipe with Clover's chosen thyme. Did you choose thyme and rosemary? Thyme, rosemary, and lemon balm is what Clover is going to demonstrate today. Ivan is going to demonstrate a simple flatbread, which is just flour, baking powder, salt, and Greek yogurt. And the yogurt we made in class. So we love to, like, as much as we can do as possible, we like to do all the pieces. So we made the yogurt, and then we're going to make the flatbread with that. And he's going to demonstrate that in just a minute. Okay. Yeah. One of the things we love to do with our herbs, I mentioned that the students built a still, is that we will take all of this extra organic matter and we will put it in a still. And when we have a still, the heat from the water comes up and the water evaporates and it goes through the plant material. And then what comes out of the still is water, which is called a hydrosol, and it has all the medicinal properties of the plant in the hydrosol, and then also an oil, which is an essential oil. And Evan Healy, which is based in California, they are a company based on hydrosols and essential oils for skin, hair, just very pure, just the plant material, oils, the plant material, hydrosol, and then clay mass. And they noticed what we were doing, and they said, oh, that's so wonderful. We want to support your students and support all of their learning. So once a semester, they Zoom with us and they have their estheticians lead us in using the face mask and using the hydrosols and using the oils on our own skin. And the students love it. And what I love about it is the students are talking and they're caring for each other, and they're using, sometimes we use some of Evan Healy's hydrosols, and sometimes we use the hydrosol that we've created, but they just enjoy it so much. I think you can see from these pictures that it is just one of the favorite things that we do every year. And then these are just a couple pictures of us out and about. Every once in a while, we'll set up a little stand and sell like focaccia with our herbal salts on it, or sell some of the salves that we make just at a carnival. And the students love being out and showing what we've done, and making sure that their family and friends all get to taste it. So I will say that is an overview of what we have done here at Newark High School. Right before I finish, Daniel, I did want to just maybe show a couple of the other books that are on the resource list. But when we're making yogurt or learning how to make our sourdough, we will use Eat Like a Human for Dr. Bill Schindler. Again, this is on the resource list. This is another book by Dr. Drew Ramsey, and it is about eating all of the nutrients to feed the brain, and especially the smoothie recipes in here. They are so wonderful. And then a lot of our herbal information comes from Rosalie, and she has two books, Alchemy of Herbs, which is a beautiful overview of the culinary herbs, and then moves into maybe some more medicinal herbs that we don't use in the classroom. And then Wild Remedies, which when we go out into the schoolyard and we just look around, we can start to use the plantain, we can start to use the dandelion. And she is very specific in how to process and use the herbs. So I would say that these books have been the foundation for what we do at Newark High School. Okay, so I think we are ready for some question and answers.
Yeah. So one of the questions that came in, and if you have any other questions, please drop them into the chat and we'll answer some of them now, and then we'll have another Q&A at the very end of this presentation. For the basil salt you make, do you make it with dried basil or fresh?
Fresh. So what we do is we take our basil leaves. I think I brought in some basil, but I'm going to use this lemon balm because I have it right here. Okay, so And lemon balm works too. We can do this with any herb. Sometimes we make like a Tuscan blend and we'll use rosemary and thyme and basil. Okay, so we're just going to take the herb and chop it into little pieces or use a mortar and pestle. Clover, could you get me a mortar and pestle from down in the end? And we'll just mash it with the salt. So you can see that this herb is not dried. It's got a lot of moisture in it. Then we will lay that salt with the herb in it out on a sheet to dry. And after it's dry, then we'll put it in a jar. But the salt dries things really beautifully. Thank you, Clover. Of course. Okay. So my wonderful assistant. So we'll just put this right in here and the students love to do this work. And mortar and pestles are best bought at TJ Maxx. They're $7.99 to $12.99 a piece. And students love to use this ancient tool. So we'll just put it in here and we will just bang with the salt and the salt really keeps it pretty sandy feeling and then lay it out until it's dry, just overnight, and then the next day put it into a container. So yes, definitely use it right off the plant. Like that's what holds the flavor. Once basil dries, the sweet basil, it really tends to lose that beautiful flavor and you just have a dried leaf. So
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I think you answered already, but the salt acts as a preservative for the herb,
yes.
right?
And for some reason with basil, it just all of the flavor. And really we make all kinds of herbal salts, but the basil is our favorite because it really protects the flavor of basil. But all of the herbs, rosemary, thyme, lemon, lemon balm, it just like brightens them. It makes it so beautiful.
Next question is, does thyme need to be dried to make tea or can it be used fresh?
Both. Both. However we use thyme, it's just wonderful. Yeah, we do dry. So we dry it to have access to it all winter long, but it can also just be fresh. And even raspberry leaf, specifically for girls, if they're not feeling well, we'll go out and cut it right off the bush when we can, when raspberry leaf is in season, but then we will bring some in and dry it for the winter as well.
This is a really interesting question. What way do you recommend to dry herbs? Do you have an instruction on how to make a still, or is it purchased?
Okay, so the still, we have done hydrosols and there are instructions online and I can put one in the resource document, but there are instructions online for like a glass bowl and an upside down lid, and that will work for a hydrosol to create a hydrosol. But we did that for a while. And then we went ahead and got a Letime still, Letime, and it is stainless steel. And so beautiful herbalists who are distilling their herbs, they will use a copper still, but we needed something a little bit more sturdy and that we were sure we could sanitize in the classroom. So we went with Letime still, and I can put a link to that in the resources. That's a great question. I feel like Daniel, was there another question that you asked me before the still question?
No, it's just what way do you recommend to dry herbs?
What way do we need to buy them or to
Recommend to dry.
dry? Okay, so we have a couple of things. One thing is we have a window screen that someone was discarding, and so we cleaned it, and we love to do dandelion on big window screens. And then we have the little shed, and so we will just put the whole screen inside the shed and it will dry beautifully. We will also do any of our herbs like that, but because we're going through so much so often, we also have a small dehydrator that we have in the classroom with several racks in it, and we'll just put them all in there on a very low temperature. I don't really recommend the oven for dehydrating because we can't get our temperature low enough, but outside in a dry area on a window screen really works beautifully and is the most inexpensive and the most garden friendly. I love it when we can keep the garden jobs right in the garden.
And somebody noted too to try to dry in the shade and not the sun.
Yes, that's why we put them in the shed. That is a good note. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, awesome. So if there are, and I think we will also share, we might drop some of these like purchase list items in that resource list, right? I think we're
Yes.
gonna go ahead and do that. So this is it. We're gonna have one more Q&A. And if you have ways of drying herbs or how you use herbs, feel free to also drop them in the chat and share with everybody.
Yes, love learning. And this is just our journey. So definitely with Daniel, I invite you to speak into our journey or, you know, give us hints and tips. We would love it.
So now I think we're going to transition into our demonstration portion of our presentation.
Yes. So move over to the students. Okay, guys, can I have you at the table? Let me introduce Clover and Ivan. Are we here? Are we here? Okay. So I have Daniel, I hope you can hear us okay, but I have Ivan and he is going to quickly show you how to make our flatbread, which this is very interesting, but Ivan made a demonstration flatbread and I think it got eaten. Is that what happened? Possibly. It's gone, but it's okay. We're gonna make more. And this is Clover, and these are two of my wonderful students, and I'm so thankful that they were so generous with their time and they're willing to be here to cook for you today. So Ivan, you are going to start your flatbread with a half cup of flour. And he has pre-measured everything. And that's one of my tips for cooking in the garden, especially if you just have a few minutes, is have students pre-measure everything the first day, and then the next day they can mix it and put it together. And a quarter teaspoon salt. And an 1/8 teaspoon baking powder. You got it. You're doing excellent. And that's okay. Give that a little stir with your wooden spoon, please. Okay, and now we're just going to mix to that a quarter cup yogurts. And you might need my help with this because can you dip that in there? No? Here we go. Okay, hold out your. Yep. Okay, that's good. Go. Okay. So we made this flatbread last week and the students loved it. They just they ate it. I like to say that they offer me a bite of their food. They let me taste their food, but not with the flatbread. It was all gone, all immediately. So this is it. This dough is just this simple. And now Ivan's going to put quite a bit of flour on his hands and roll it into little balls. And my tip with this is some people have tried this before and it doesn't work because everything just gets really sticky and kind of like just gets covered in flour. But the tip is once we have flour on our hands, it sticks to our hands. Like once we have this dough on our hands and our hands are sticky, we can't get it undone. So what we have to do is just wash our hands and start over. And once we start over and our hands aren't sticky, then it'll be fine. Okay, are you ready? Great. So just give it a little bit of a knead. Beautiful. It's so much better.
Our first demo didn't work out too good.
Yeah, yeah. Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think maybe one more.
One more. Okay, and then go ahead and chop it up. And this is a half a cup of flour. It is so little, but it will make 4 to 8 small tortilla size flatbreads. So again, it doesn't take a lot. The students love a little tasting, and a half a cup of flour goes a long way. Okay. The other day we did this in class with a chef who came in to visit, and we put pesto right in the dough, and it was delicious in the dough. Okay. So while you're rolling, Ivan,
I'm gonna start on the butter.
okay, I'm gonna come over here to Clover. Yes.
We have 1/4 cup of butter.
Yeah, 1/4 cup of butter. Yes.
And then we're gonna need 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice.
1/2 teaspoon lemon juice. And that adds the freshest, brightest flavor. It's my favorite. It's really good. So this week our lab was pasta and we made a meat sauce, but we took the herb butter out of the fridge from last week and added it to like top our little pasta bowls, bolognese, herb butter.
Oh,
It was crazy delicious. We loved it. Okay, so Clover, can you carefully show us the cross chop?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So just
Uh-huh.
use our fingers on the blade.
So we have one hand, the guide hand is on top of the knife. And then the knife holding hand is chopping in a rainbow, one direction, and then back the other direction. And so there's really no way to get cut because we have our hand on top of the knife. And it's a very safe way for students to chop.
This is my favorite way to chop.
Yeah, okay.
And we're gonna go ahead and add this lemon balm.
Add the lemon balm right to the butter.
And
Beautiful.
the rest of our herbs
The rest of the herbs that have already been chopped, rosemary, thyme,
and the lemon balm.
and the lemon balm.
And then we are gonna go ahead and do our light sprinkle absolutes.
Light.
Just about that much, not too much, not too little, because the butter is gonna be salty. And then
You can give it a stir. And so again, each group, so I have 6 groups per period, about 6 periods, so I have about 24 groups of students, but for just a few pounds of butter and a few cups of flour, 120 students can be cooking and working, especially if they're taking time to go to the garden, if they're taking the time to choose the herbs, if they're taking the time to do the pre-measuring. It keeps us all busy, and that's what we want, is like busy, happy, engaged students. So this works. Okay, so did you roll some dough?
Yep.
You did. Okay, so now Ivan is just gonna take some of the dough that he rolled and put it in the pan. Back here. And we're using cast iron today, but any nonstick skillet, any carbon steel, anything works. Yeah, you're not rushed. This is beautiful. You're doing a beautiful job. I'm so proud of you. Nice, gorgeous. Is this ready?
yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. All right. And we just kind of use these little tiny 4-ounce canning jars to store our flavor.
And we're gonna let the flatbread cook for 2 to 3 minutes per side or until golden brown.
That's right, until golden brown. Okay.
You don't have to cook the butter. It can go in the food.
We don't cook the butter. We leave it off. But this is a super simple base, and sometimes we add cheese. We can add Parmesan cheese or mozzarella cheese right into it. Doesn't change the recipe. We can just add to it as much as we want. Sometimes we put the herbs in the bread. Sometimes we love that. Sometimes we put tomatoes in the bread. Like, this is so forgiving and so delicious.
Look at all this extra dough just after 2 things.
Yeah, that's just one. Yeah. The first time we let everyone in the class have a flatbread and we only used a cup of flour. Yeah, so 24 students. Okay, let's check your bread. Oh, you got it? No?
Always use protection when cast iron. Yes, they get hot everywhere.
He's the best. Oh, gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, this will be so much better.
You're doing a great job. Okay, so I mean, in just a minute, Ivan will bring over a plate with some butter on it and show you the beautiful end result. But that is our cooking demonstration that right now, because we were completely set up, took 30 seconds. But I'm saying that if you're a teacher and you're a classroom teacher, this could definitely be 2 class periods. Go
Or
to the
2
garden,
days.
or yeah, 2 days, like 2 periods.
Two
Like go
whole
to the garden one day, prepare your herbs one day, especially when we have knives. We will go to the garden and chop the herbs and set them aside for the next day. We do not rush through our labs when we're using knives.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then ever. And then the next day we can do the mixing and the baking and the eating without having knives out. Even in a high school classroom, we want to always be careful of that. So I'm going to let you bring that to me in just a minute and demonstrate. And I'm going to go back to. Okay.
I'm on mute.
You're on mute.
I think this would be a great time to continue. Before we start, we should share the finished product, our Q&A. So if folks have any questions on everything we've just seen, or anything we have so far, please drop them into the chat, so our amazing presenter can share her expertise. I know that one thing I was wondering is, if someone is just trying to get into or using herbs with their students, what do you think would be like the first touch point?
Yes, that's a great question. I would say the first one would be peppermint, because it grows really well in a pot and it grows really well in the summer. So peppermint would be a student favorite. Again, it can be used in a dessert. It can be used in a salad. It can be used in a butter. It can, a student can get a little bite and they can literally chew it up and make like a little poultice and then put that right on it. So I think it's so important for the students to know that they can help themselves, that they can go to the plants and the plants are there to help them. Not only are they delicious, but they are what we can use to help ourselves. So I would start with peppermint everywhere. And it grows so easily.
It grows, yeah. Don't plant it in ground. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to remind folks that if you have a question, please drop it into the chat or into the Q&A button at the bottom of your bar. So the next question is, how did you convince the school to get behind the program? And was there a culinary class prior to this?
So I actually taught elementary for several years, and this program is what used to be home economics, and now it's called family consumer sciences. But apparently there's not really anyone with that certification but me. So the school called and said, hey, Verbanik, you're kind of a dinosaur, but we're going to need you up here at the high school. So I switched jobs the year that I came to high school, and the year we started the garden was a big life change for me. So over 20 years, I was in the elementary classroom. So I went back because home economics was my first degree. I went back to summer school for culinary. And when I came, there was not a garden, but I felt so passionately. Our community is considered food insecure because we have a low socioeconomic status. And then we didn't at the time have any public transportation at all, and only grocery stores on one street. So students could live miles from a grocery and not have access to what we would consider fresh food or nourishing food. So I just felt really passionate about adding every little bit that we can so the students could take it home. So that was part of the beginnings, and the school immediately saw that that was just necessary. And immediately the class started filling up with students, and then we had almost a 300 student wait list. And then the school said, oh, we need another teacher. So now we have 2 teachers kind of teaching this basic intro to culinary, intro to cooking, what is fresh food, how do I use it, how do I cook it. But definitely we grow our food, we eat our food, and then outside we have compost. So the students spend time turning the compost, taking its temperature. Okay, so this is their beautiful, but I love the lemons, you guys. They're flatbread, and you can see those gorgeous brown spots in the herb butter. So we compost and then we use that organic matter back in our gardens. And the school administration sees the students working. And so they say, keep it up, keep doing it. So they know, I mean, really in a high school, a lot of it's inside, but they know that we'll be outside and they are supportive of that. So it was important that I communicate a lot with my principal and all the way up to the assistant superintendent. I have spoken with her and I just make sure that everybody knows we will be outside, we will be working, we will be together, we will be safe, we'll come back in. But I felt the most joy when 2 years ago I came to class. So it had been 5 years of gardening. And 2 years ago I came to class and I said, and we have the gardens. Let's all go out and see the garden. And several of them said, oh, we know the garden. My friends brought me over the summer and we got the tomatoes and we took them home. And we got the tomatoes and onions and we made salsa. And so the students who had been in class and planted it passed on, which I put on social media. Hey, this is ready, come and get it. This is ready, come and get it. But they had done it. And so I was so thrilled that they were starting to take ownership. Like, this is my garden, it's my space. I'm bringing my friends and we're getting food and we're taking it. I love that. That is the hope of the garden, is that it's their garden.
So, and I think you're speaking to something so important that is like, as the kids want it, that's
Yes.
like such big traction.
Yes.
So I know you're talking about students being owners of their learning. And I think something that's really big right now is being really mindful, as we talked earlier.
Yes.
And so in the realm of self-care, do you have any ideas or recipes for soap or skin products using herbs?
Yes, we do. And I can put a link in the bio, but let me see if Clover, can you find the salve that we make that's in the little drawer of my desk, like the little drawer at the end of the counter? But we will take this herb, and now this is a little bit different, thyme or rosemary, and we'll dry it. Because if we're going to keep something for a long time, water obviously can build bacteria. So we don't want that. Any bacteria from moisture. So we will dry the herb and then we'll put it in oil. So we love olive oil because there's a story that Joan of Arc went into battle. And as we know, she was shot with an arrow kind of through the shoulder. And she pulled the arrow out and she packed her wound with olive oil, and she was able to heal her wound with olive oil and then went back into battle. So like since the beginning, people have used olive oil for healing. So we'll take our herbs and put it in olive oil for in a sunny window for a few weeks, and then we'll strain it. And then we will use 4 ounces of that oil, 4 liquid ounces to 1 ounce of beeswax. And we will, over a gentle heat, we will melt that together. And then we'll put in a few of our essential oils. And that makes the most beautiful salve. And we just keep it in the classroom. And depending on what we use, the students have to do their research, but they've made boo-boo balm for young parents, and we have a class of teen parents. So they took lavender, and that's just super gentle, any little scrape or burn. And then we've made like a tattoo cream for all of our kids who love tattoos, and we used comfrey for that. So we've just done all kinds of herbs and in oil, and then 4 ounces to 1 ounce. And then it just makes a perfect salve. It could be a chapstick. Sometimes we put it in the cardboard chapstick tubes, and the kids love it. They love it. So this is our favorite balm.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I want some.
Yeah.
I know I'm hearing all these things, like I need to try all of these. So, another question is, how long are each of your classes and how often do you meet in a week?
Every day for 40 minutes. So I teach 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8. So every 40 minutes, it's a new group. And each group has to pull it all out, set it up safely, get through their project, clean up and put away, and the next group comes in. So we turn it around pretty quickly. And that's why I did mention that my students will pre-measure. So they'll pre-measure things and set it aside. So the next day they can just mix quickly. And then if we're using a stove or something hot, we can be careful and know that we're prepared because we already did the measurement. We already read the recipe. We're ready to go do the job and then clean up. The students are very committed to this space. So they do all the cleaning, all the laundry. They do it.
Right. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I think students enjoy working. Do you enjoy working? They're like, yeah.
They're also welcome to answer add input to any of these
Come on
questions.
for Q&A and answer any questions.
Sure.
Come on over, Clover.
Yeah, come and join us. Another question is, do you all have an outdoor garden space or do you only do vertical gardening?
So we just got the tower garden with baby plants behind us, but we have the outdoor gardening space that is called the Sanctuary Garden. And it's our main garden. Yeah, so we've got like 8 or 10 raised beds.
Yeah. We had garlic and we grow all of our herbs there and we pick them all from out of the garden. And we also have an apple orchard.
And we also have an apple orchard
We use the apples to make apple pies
and apple butter
and apple butter.
sauce.
Yes. We use apples a lot in this class.
Yeah.
We love apples.
We love it. We love our apple. It's a lot. The apple, I will say that fruit trees are more work than I was expecting, but we mulch and water all the time.
Always picking up apples.
Always picking up
picking
apples.
the apples. But it's worth it. They're yummy. So
There's a question, Clover, and Ivan, I think this probably also applies to him if he's around. We'd love to know what's your favorite thing you've made in this class and why?
my favorite thing that we made in this class is honestly probably the bread with the herb butter. But I did take this class my freshman year. I'm a junior now, and I took global foods. We made like these delicious smoothies. Like I remember the smoothies specifically. We made Indian food. We made pancakes. This class has just made me appreciate food so much more than I used to. And I've learned so many things. Like I eat apples all the time. Like, not to talk about the apples more, but like I remember in Global Foods, she showed us how to cook down the apples and turn them into like an applesauce. And I do it all the time at home now. Like it's probably one of my favorite things to eat. I put it on top of graham crackers. It's so delicious. Like this class, like I think I want a minor in culinary because of this class.
I love that. Yeah, and Clover's my cheese girl. I'm surprised
yeah.
cheese has not come up, but we made ricotta cheese. And
Oh
yeah, and we like cheese with honey. We like cheese with honey. What can we say? Ivan, how about you? Now Ivan's a freshman and he just like jumped right in and I am so proud of him. But do you have a favorite lab so far between the bolognese or the yogurt or the
Bolognese, hands
smoothie?
down.
Oh yeah, I do have to say our bolognese recipe was
Yeah.
really good. And we grew the tomatoes and we grew the herbs and yeah, added the and then with the herb butter on top, that was winning.
The herb butter really made like the herb butter and the Parmesan. And then we cooked the Italian sausage. I cooked the Italian sausage
did.
actually. And
Yeah.
it was so good.
So
Like I question the food sometimes when we're cooking, but then I try it and it's like actually delicious. Like it's so good. Like
I feel like as soon as you said bolognese, I saw both of your eyes close and you just went back to when you ate it. So folks are saying that they're getting hungry listening to what you all have made.
I mean, we have food baking in the back.
we still have some of the bolognese sauce in the fridge. I'm thinking about eating it. when we
Yeah.
get
So,
done.
and I was going to say that like Clover is really honest and she's open and she's like, I'm doubting the food when we're cooking. I get a lot of pushback from students and I just say, let's meet every edible opportunity with optimism.
Mhm.
Like you can spit it out, but if it could at least go in your mouth, you're going to like, no, whether you like it or not.
I've liked every single thing she's put in my mouth.
Exactly.
Every single
Exactly.
thing.
And I might question it, but every
They
time
question
I
it,
try it, it's
But once they try it,
delicious.
so we really embrace courage. Yeah.
And you might not like it, but you know.
Yeah, but right. At least like if you tried it, you were courageous. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you all so much for all of this amazing content, all of this amazing learning. Also, love that we have student presenters. So please
Yes.
clap
Thank
for our student presenters. Keep lots of
Presenters.
bravery
Phenomenal.
to getting up here. This is gonna be like this is historic. So thank you all so much. So just before we leave, everybody, I just want to share. I'm gonna share my screen one more time. I am going. Give me 1 second. Here we go. That's what I want you all to see. Please remember to take our feedback survey. Tell us what you enjoyed, what you want to hear more of about this webinar or in future webinars as well. This is also part, as I said, of a Growing School Garden Summit webinar series. Our next webinar will be on cafeteria to compost school-based composting programs on October 16th, the 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we also have one in November, Real Life Garden Heroes, How Teaching Diverse Voices Improves Literacy and Social Emotional Learning. This is November 20th. And on your PDF of the slides, you can also access the full list of all of our webinars. And again, thank you all so much. We are the SGSO Network. Please connect with us over socials at SGSO Network on Instagram, on our website, sgsonetwork.org, or send us an email if you have any other follow-up questions. You will get a resource roundup related to this presentation as a follow-up email, as well as the recording for this presentation. So thank you all so much again for being here today. And we hope to see you in the next one.